Celeste and her family find themselves entangled in a world of werewolves and ancient traditions. The Greyson family possesses not only supernatural powers but also control over Celeste's destiny. When Celeste's mother and grandmother unexpectedly show up on the Greyson family's territory, things become even more complicated. Bennett, Greyson's father, proposes a plan to fake Celeste's death to protect her from external threats. How does Celeste's mother react to this plan? Can Celeste adapt to her newly discovered werewolf identity and find her place within the Greyson family? Join our pack. Subscribe to start your adventure. Chapter 17. 2 weeks later. Celeste's POV. For the past couple days, it has come to my attention that limited access to the outside world can pretty much turn a person pathologically hysterical and mild claustrophobe. Yesterday, I had hallucinations of Fluffy stalking me around the house, and when I angrily called out Greyson's name, he was in fact not there. You can imagine the faces people gave me when they saw me searching inside kitchen cabinet for an overgrown werewolf. People from Greyson's pack kept a weary distance from me. Either Greyson or Bennett told them to give me space, or I've successfully labeled myself the villain and they are repulsed by my strange behavior. I really need fresh air. I miss being able to look up and peer at the sky, not count the tiles on the ceiling. If I attempted to leave the house, someone would be hot on my tail. The days have passed by so fast, but to me it seems like forever. Greyson has rarely been home, and when I do see him, it's usually late at night when I'm too tired to kick him off the bed. When I wake up the next morning, he's already gone and the space next to me is cold and crumbled with his musky scent left as proof that he was there. "How are you, darling?" Nora asks, like almost every day, and I always reply with the same word. Her eyes twinkle as if she has some grand magic trick up her sleeve. "To my Identity丨Mystery, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I thought you'd be more excited than that. Why would you say that? It's been so long since I've looked at a calendar, I can't tell if it's Monday. "To my Identity丨Mystery, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." She fiddled her fingers across the soft surface of her cotton dress. Vincent got released this morning. My brain didn't process the information quick enough. I looked at her thinking, so what? And then, my eyes widened. It's been 2 weeks. Today is the day. Bennett will allow him to leave tonight. He's going to see my sister. I'm going to see Charlotte. The excitement precedes me, and I'm on my feet running up the stairs before Laura could say, "Where are you going?" After reaching Greyson's room, the room I've inhabited for the past few days, I opened the polo shirt drawer and searched through the object corner. I knew Greyson would never touch this drawer, so this was the perfect place to hide this. When I found it, I slipped it inside my back pocket for later use. "Celeste, what are you doing?" "Shit." I slowly got up and pushed the drawer closed with my hip. Greyson stood, leaning against the door frame, watching me suspiciously. "What are you looking at?" I placed my hands on my hips, looking seemingly innocent. He looked at me. "What were you doing?" "That's none of your business." "I've made everything, evolving you, my business after that suicide attempt you performed with the window." He strode over to where I stood and peered behind my shoulder to see what I could possibly be hiding from him. I wasn't trying to kill myself. Drama queen. I was behaving like an ordinary person who is held hostage against her will. I turned at an angle to keep him from viewing the slight bulge in my back pocket. Even desperate people won't climb out a second-story window. They'd be smart enough to try it in the first floor. You're the only lunatic I know who would try. Did I just hear a vein snap? Oh, that does it. Do you know where the word lunatic derived from? It's Latin from the word lunaticus, which is referred to people who have gone mad during the night of a full moon. That's where folklore conjured up the idea of werewolves. So don't shit with me and call me a lunatic. Because you're the only lunatic wolf around here, buddy. Where's the trophy I deserve? The expression on his face is pure gold. Serves him right for messing with me. Next time he better think twice before calling me any stupid name. I walks around him, dramatically stomping my feet on the floor, and slammed the door on my way out. Well, look at you, Miss Ice Queen. You've got the big bad alpha frozen on his feet. The voice came from someone I didn't want to see right now. He was leaning against the wall with his arms crossed like a cocky-ass prick. I haven't seen him in weeks, and now he suddenly shows up uninvited. What do you want, Leah? He smirked and closed his eyes. It irks me that this guy is supposed to be a police officer. I talked to your sister a few weeks ago. I'm pulling on the fabric of my shirt and grinding my teeth. She looked to be doing fine. I was notified by the hospital that she was released a couple days after her admission, and other than the permanent scar on her shoulder, she is spotless. If our roles were switched, I bet he wouldn't act so calm with his brother in the hospital. I tell myself to calm down and take a deep breath. Did you tell her about all this? My fragile sister exposed to the madness of all this. I can't even imagine her reaction. I did. The door opens behind me and Greyson walks out like a timid child that just awkwardly walked into a conversation he wasn't supposed to overhear. Pretending to ignore him, I addressed Leah. How did she react? Before taking a couple paces towards the stairs. Better than you. That's all I'm going to say. Vincent will take her here tonight. She won't stay overnight. However, why does she get to go home? Not that I'm complaining, but I would like to be able to go back too. Neil looks past me and doesn't answer. Whatever look Greyson gave him indicated his time to leave. As if on instinct, I jerked my hand away from him when he tried to grab it. I'm sorry for. He can't even explain himself. Apology not accepted. Now tell me why Charlotte gets to go home. Like I said before, her life isn't threatened. She isn't my mate, you are. And the reason she has been allowed to come here and see you is that Dad wants to personally meet her. Bennett wants to personally talk to my sister. This time, I'm not fast enough to stop him. He grabs my hand and coils his fingers between mine. I groan. You are so annoying. He chuckles, showing me his perfect white teeth. Ditto. A few hours later, the house is crowded with people. People I have no clue who they are, but I'm guessing by the way they address Greyson as their future alpha they are part of this so-called pack. It's been 2 weeks. Celeste. I think now's the perfect time to introduce you to the pack, while they've all gathered here to celebrate the new wolves. Laura hugs me from behind and her big birdie husband follows suit, intimidating as always. I knew you would look gorgeous in that dress. Laura giggles and admires her work. The dress was made specifically for a special affair. It was pearl white and silky. It contrasted my tan skin and made me glow. I'm sure anyone could find me if I drove into a large crowd. It had an illusion neckline with diamond-encrusted lace flower patterns that modestly covered parts of my cleavage. It was so stunning, I felt unworthy wearing it. When I saw myself in the mirror, I didn't even recognize myself. The fabric is magic. I kid you not. Because I swear my body never felt or looked so perfect to me before. The cloth wrapped around my curves and gave me tall, slender figure-8 figure. If I were given the option, I would wear this dress to death. Okay, now I need to knock on wood. This dress, which Louisa has forced me to wear tonight, has to be worth 10 times more than the bargain dress I wore to my high school prom. High school. Those memories have been discarded from my brain for good. You have great taste, Mom. Lexi commented, looking at the elegant lace design on the base of my neck. Laura held her chin up and smiled smugly. I can see where Greyson gets the ego from. Where do you think you got your brain and brawn? Honey, this kind of hurts. I said under my breath and looked at my now reddening feet. I don't know how some woman can walk around in heels all day. It's pure torture. Why do expensive clothes that look good always have to feel so uncomfortable? Pretty hurts. Lexi's eyes sparkled in excitement. Oh, would you like me to apply makeup on you? I only applied a small amount of eyeliner, mascara and a touch of lipstick, compliments to Laura. I don't dare touch her face. My maid is beautiful with her natural looks. My heart feels like a bullet train. A hand snakes around my waist and pulls me to a solid torso. I can feel him nudge the back of my head with his nose. Taking a whiff of the perfume Laura also gave me this evening. Without looking, I already know who this person is. Are you ready to meet the pack? He's holding me like a piece of possession again, and I incline to give him a taste of my bite. I throw a glare over my shoulder and, holy shit, Greyson in a suit. An astronaut suit, no. A jumpsuit. Not even close. He was in a James Bond suit. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Here, you need this. Leo walked up from behind Greyson and handed me the handkerchief in his front pocket of his suit. I snapped out of my daze and looked at Leo in confusion. Why do I need that? You're drooling. He snorted unattractively. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I cover my mouth and grabbed his handkerchief. Leo bursts into laughter and clutches his stomach. Oh my god. Your face. A few snickers came from the group behind me. That's when I realized Leo was lying. My face burns up in embarrassment. Leonardo, you are G. I throw his handkerchief at his face and he catches it with one hand. Eyes closed. A few girls watching from a few meters away giggle flirtatious lie and he grins haughtily to himself. What a show-off. That's enough. You had your laugh. Greyson hit him on the back of the head, making him grunt. Despite the firmness in Greyson's voice, the faint hint of a smile on across his face tells me he was amused by my reaction as well. He was obviously pleased that I was caught ogling at him. Let's get this party started. Laura claps her hands together and intertwines her arm around Bennett's. Greyson nods and turns to face me, bowing graciously like a perfect gentleman. I was never taught formal etiquette, so instead of bowing back I think I was supposed to, I stare at his open palm awkwardly like an idiot. The same group of giggling girls whisper to themselves and eye me enviously. Suddenly I feel overwhelmed by the numerous pairs of eyes now watching my every action. I hate being center of attention. My heart starts pounding and I feel like the room is closing up on me. My head tightens and my body feels warm. Hey. I look up and meet Greyson's piercing crystal eyes. Hey, I respond back. He closes in on me and for a second, I think he's about to kiss my cheek. He grasps my forearm and pulls me into his hold and presses my face into his chest. He smells wonderful. Breathe, he whispers for only my ears. Relax. I'll be right next to you the whole night. I will introduce you to everyone and I promise you will love them. He set his hand on the small of my back. Trust me, I want to this very moment. Really, I do. However, a part of me still resents him for what he is in the world he had brought me to. Alpha Grey, don't start making out with your girl yet. The party's just got started. Leo smacked Greyson in the back and laughed like a man drunk, but his eyes looked completely sober. Come on, Celeste. My parents are here tonight. He steals my hand from Greyson and drags me across the room. The crowd parts like the Red Sea upon our arrival. My dress is so long, it's dragging behind me, so I grab the soft fabric and lift the hem from the floor. True to his word, Greyson shadows my footsteps and makes sure we are in close eye range of each other. Blonde, Dad, look who I have. Debbie is in a red cocktail dress with Robert in a black and white tie suit. Both have a wine glass in their hands and a friendly smile on their faces. When Abby sees me, she is stunned silent. Her lips have formed an O shape and she stares me down. Honey, I can barely recognize you. I'm breathless. She stretched her arms to give me a hug, but I shake from Leo's grasp and slowly walk back towards Greyson's side. I glare at her. You knew. Her expression falls. Gunny, I didn't know you would be the one taken. And if you had known, would you have warned me? Her silence gave me the answer. You're my mom's best friend. How could you not have told her about the danger my family was in? She looks stunned and guilt-ridden. Robert takes her hand, but doesn't look at me in the face. He also has guilt written on his face. Leo clenches his teeth and takes a step forward to defend his mother, but Greyson stops him. Greyson places his hand softly on my hip. Celeste, please. Now is not the time to have this conversation. I look around the large room and realize I've created somewhat of an audience. Like a scene from a haunted movie, the lights slowly start to dim and the velvet drape curtains that drape the tall windows slide open. The room is filled with the light of the full moon. The sound of a grandfather clock ticking the midnight mark echoes across the room. After what happened in my room, during the eclipse, darkness has become something I've associated with ill, fated events. All I can hear is people's voices whispering. To my Identity丨Mystery, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I mutter, I'm right here. I can still feel his hand on my hip. What's happening? The ceremony has started. A howl comes from outside and another one follows after it. Greyson releases his hand from my hip and I lose his warmth. For some reason that bothers me and I panic in fear for being left alone. I can't see anything. To my Identity丨Mystery, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. That idiot promised he would be by my side the whole night. Celeste, I haven't left you. I search for him by swinging my arms back and forth, hoping to find him and punch him for leaving me. Where are you? I hear him sigh. I'm the one frustrated. Why should he be sighing? I've been following behind you. Once again I feel his familiar warmth touching the side of my face. Without hesitation, I grab his hand with both my hands and hold on tight. Don't let go. I can't see a thing. I nag. But honestly I'm glad I have him where I want him. Can you see me now? Following the sound of his voice, I look up. Fireflies. No, they aren't fires. The two glowing circles were his eyes. When I looked around the room, there were more hundreds of glowing lights and glowing lights on all corners of the room. How are you able to do that? Werewolf, remember. My eyes glow when a faint bout of light the moonlight reflects on them. Then how come I saw them during the eclipse? There was no moon. That I can't explain. For some reason, my eyes glow naturally on eclipses. No light required. A ghost stick comes to mind and I'm smiling to myself. I can see in the dark, you know. I see you laughing. What are you thinking? Nothing. I welcome everyone to my humble home. It's been so long since we have gathered together. Bennett's booming voice silences the room. 3 of our pups have reached maturity and we celebrate today for this milestone in their lives. They will make their first grand appearance as a full-fledged wolf later today, as soon as all of them have come back from their night hunt. Also, another important announcement, one that we hope to hear every quarter century. My son, our future alpha, has successfully taken his bride. Her introduction is rather late, but we thought better late than never right. Bennett's humor in the end light in the crowd. Everyone cheered as Bennett asked for applause. Laura made a small speech thanking everyone for coming and wishing everyone enjoyment for the rest of the night. Later today, Greyson will escort Celeste to the dance floor to start out first slow dance of the night. No one told me about that. I'm not going. I stomp my foot. Oh yes you are. As alphas, we can't disappoint our pack. Always about the pack. When is Charlotte arriving? I was starting to get impatient, and she has not showed up yet. Maybe she's giving Vincent a hard time too. Like someone else I know. He was teasing me. Unlike me, he can see the expression on my face. So when he saw the frown on my face, he patted the top of my head inside against the nape of my neck. You have to take a joke sometimes, Celeste. Don't be so uptight all the time. If you want me to cool down on the jokes, then you should also lighten up with me too. Your stubbornness fuels my wolf. I can't help messing with you. His hand circles across my back in small circular patterns. It feels so comforting, and I allow myself to relax in his touch. Did I forget to tell you that you look quite lovely? Oh God, is he smooth-talking me? My knees are literally shaking. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Did you hear that? Leo's voice cuts in. 5 seconds. I don't hear a word coming from them. What? Before I could finish that sentence, one of the tall windows shatter and a shadowed figure collapses into the room. Greyson uses his body to cover me from the shattered glass, and hears my face muffled into his chest to protect my head. What the hell was that? I hear Robert cursing and Bennett giving orders to escort the women to safety. Snarling, barking, whimpering sounds are coming from the figure, or should I say figures, as in plural. Get those wolves off each other, Bennett orders. The lights turn back on. The room is littered with broken glass and smears of blood on the floor. Most of the blood is from the 2 wolves wrestling on the ground. Vincent. Leo yells at the caramel wolf. The grey wolf is hell-bent on killing Vincent. Celeste. Greyson yells at me to grab my attention. Your sister. Is that her? He points at the crying figure outside the house. There she was. My little sister, crying on the ground and facing the shattered glass. Although I told myself not to do it again, I go ahead and do it anyway. I jump out the window and head towards Charlotte. At least this time. It's the first floor and I'm not running away. Charlotte. She doesn't hear me, but as soon as I have her in my arms, she cries louder, realizing we were together again. Celeste. Celeste. Oh my God. It's really you. You're alive. You're alive. She cries. I shush her. I'm alive. Tears pour down my face. Celeste. Wait. We have to stop them. Stop who? We both release from our hug. Vincent, she coughs and stumbles on her words. Celeste. Get back inside. Greyson helps me up on my feet, like I weighed nothing more than a pound of rice. Hey, let go of her, Charlotte yells, punching Greyson in the arm. She doesn't stop, even when I tell her to. It's all right, Charlotte. He's not going to hurt me. But he did kidnap me. You kidnapped her. That made her more furious. You asshole. Do you know how terrible you are? Greyson's head snapped towards the opposite direction and he grabs my hand. Shit. Whatever he saw wasn't good, because he grabbed Charlotte too and throws her over his shoulder. He's running so fast. I can't keep up. Slow down. A yell. He's chasing us who? Without warning, a wolf pounces right in front of us. His open-jaw head straight for Greyson's neck. Greyson lets go of Charlotte just in time for her to roll out of his arms and safely away from the attacking wolf. Charlotte screams. Trent. Neo. Chapter 18. What the hell did Charlotte just say? That is Trent. With my butt firmly planted on the ground, the wolf, who was apparently my brother, grazed his claws into Greyson's arms. Blood dripped from the cut wounds, but Greyson clenched teeth and gripped the base of Trent's throat. Trent thrashed back and forth, willing to free from Greyson's grasp. No one harms what's mine. Greyson snarled. I'm going to destroy you before you try. He was going to kill him. Stop. Charlotte and I screamed in unison. Noticing only me, Greyson looked straight into my eyes and, as if understanding my feelings, he released Trent's throat and dropped his hand to his side. I would have been relieved after that, but instead, I was once again breathless when Trent took Greyson's surrender as a chance to attack. I watched helpless as Trent's claw scratched across Greyson's chest. Within seconds, Greyson was lying on the ground, bleeding profusely and clutching his chest. No. Wait, Celeste. Charlotte shadowed behind as I ran towards Greyson. Trent's wolf looked up, ears perked, body straight, and his tail wagged when he saw that it was I coming his way. My brother, a werewolf. I think I've just about seen it all. Trent expected me to greet him with a warm hug, but when I crouched down to his level, my focus was on Greyson. He gave a whistled whimper before growling his disbelief. I didn't have to communicate with him to know that he felt betrayed over me choosing Greyson over himself. The feelings I felt over Greyson's well-being confused me. A need to know whether he was all right consumed me, and I don't know where these emotions came from. Trent wasn't the one hurt, Greyson was. The sight of blood covering Greyson's entire chest horrified me. My fingers shook and I had to clasp them together to stop the trembling. I didn't know how to help him without hurting him. His eyes squeezed together, and a hiss escaped his lips. As prideful as he was, he did not utter a single word. Anyone with the agony of pain he felt would have either been pale as a sheet, or crying like a neglected baby. But Greyson kept calm and maintained an even breath. I kneeled next to him and clutched his shoulder. He flinched and I recoiled my hand away. Oh God, he got hurt because of me. I'm sorry. To my Identity丨Mystery, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. It's my fault. Sweat beaded his forehead, and his body was hot to the touch beneath his tux. To my Identity丨heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Bennett appeared with 4 men behind him, Leo being one of them. Someone, get that mutt locked up. I'll deal with him later. 2 men tackled Trent to the ground and 1 man held out a stun gun. Immediately I stopped him from using it on my brother. Wait. No, he's my brother. Your brother. Bennett's eyes widen. Alpha Grey. Leo saw his friend in a state of pain and quickly went into action. I want a doctor this instant. He's right here. Robert ushered an elderly man across the throng of people gathering into the front yard. Oh dear, Laura gasped. Is my son going to be all right, Drive? Odell. The doctor sat next to me examining Greyson with the careful precision. He's already healing, thanks to his wolf, but the puncture wounds are a little deep. It might take a few days for him to heal. He should concern himself over the scaring afterwards. They will be faint and eventually over time they will fade. That mutt is your brother. Bennett was still perplexed about this. We're shocked as you are. We didn't know our brother is a werewolf until just now. I told him. Robert, I want you to do a background check on their grandmother. Find out who their father is too. Our dad. What does Dad have to do with this? The 2 men who held Trent down were struggling to keep him calm. The more they restrained Trent, the more Trent attempted to strike at them. Even as a wolf, he is persistent and hot-tempered. Please don't hurt him, Charlotte pleaded. We need to get him under control, Bennett muttered. What are you planning to do to him? My sister wrapped her arm around me, trembling at Bennett's intimidating appearance. He ignored her and ordered the men to send Trent to the dungeon. The dungeon. Charlotte looked like she was about to have a heart attack. She hasn't been there, so she doesn't know it's nothing as bad as it sounds. Trent was forced into the house with a few more men to help carry him away. They had no choice but to restrain him with a muzzle around his jaws. I wanted to go with them and make sure no harm was done on him, but at the same time I felt like I wasn't liable to leave Greyson or my sister. Don't worry, they won't harm Trent unless they want to make me angry. We can check on him later, I assured Charlotte. She looked at me strangely, wondering why my opinion would matter to these strangers. Then her eyes watered. Celeste. Her lower lip trembled, and that's when the rain shower began. I can't believe it's you. She threw her arms around me and cried her heart out, burrowing her head into my shoulder. I thought they killed you. To my Identity Lycan Love, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'm sorry for thinking the worst. She peeked over my shoulder and looked at the crowd of spectators. Her reaction was normal to anyone seeing almost 100 pair of eyes staring back with glowing eyes. Charlotte screamed and backed away. What the hell are these people? I groaned because obviously this was getting really old. Is this Vincent, mate? Laura smiled wickedly, which further frightened my sister. Mom, give her some space. Lexi pulled her mom back and offered my sister a hand. Don't worry, I'm not anything like these freaks. My name's Lexi. Your brother just tried killing my brother. Can she be just a tad bit less comical considering the situation? A half smile on her face tells me she's amused by the whole situation. Her brother is bleeding as she's smiling. Debbie made her way toward Charlotte with a huge smile on her face. It was so bright I was almost blinded by her zest. Charlotte, I'm so unbelievably happy that you are Vincent's mate. That makes me and Tracy mother-in-laws, she squealed in excitement. Charlotte's face twisted in dismay. I want nothing to do with that jerk. Debbie looked like someone kicked her puppy. Actually, scratch that. Vincent did get his butt kicked just a little over a few minutes ago. Greyson stirred and rolled himself up to all fours. Something always happens, he grumbled. What are you saying? Nora hovered impatiently over him. Every time. We are always disrupted. He successfully got on his feet without help. The bleeding looked like it stopped. How was he able to recover so quickly? You were supposed to be introduced to the pack tonight. And again we are disrupted. I was secretly relieved. We can easily remedy that, Leo exclaimed. He turned to the crowd and blew out a loud whistle. Yo, listen up folks. This is your future alpha female. Respect her as you respect our current alpha couple and our future alpha Greyson. Any questions? First it was an awkward clap, then a ripple of applause. Cheers arose from the crowd and they started chanting alpha. This is not how I pictured it. Greyson shook his head. We can't dance with you looking like this. He gestured to the blood on my dress. I wanted tonight to be perfect so that you would feel welcomed into the pack. He stumbled a little and instantly I stood next to him, allowing him to lean to my side so he could use me as support. Why was this so important to him? I just don't understand him and his customs. The object I hid in my pack pocket earlier is now tied to my thigh. Suddenly I felt like it was burning through my skin. I wondered how I thought of using it in the first place. Guilt washed through me and I felt like a fool, I said under my breath. He winced after adjusting his arm around my shoulders. Don't apologize. It isn't your fault. But if it weren't for me, you wouldn't have been. Don't. If you hadn't stopped me, it would have been your brother injured and it would have been harder for him to heal right away. I'm guessing it's his first shift, so his body is still getting used to the transformation. If I had inflicted damaging wounds, it would have physically damaged his human form. Celeste. Charlotte looked from me to Greyson with curiosity. She must be wondering why I was casually interacting with Greyson, my kidnapper. I decided to introduce them just because. Charlotte, this is Greyson. To my agent extraordinaire, Lycan Love, Heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. This is my sister Charlotte. Greyson nodded with a grunt. I would greet you, but as you can see I'm kind of covered in blood. Charlotte flinched. She also turned white as a ghost. I can see that. Now she looked bluer. I was going to tell her to sit down, but before we knew it, her pupils circled and she swayed on her feet. I got her. Vincent appeared out of the blue. He looked disheveled, a couple bruises and cuts marred his face. Someone must have handed him some clothes. He wore a dress shirt and a pair of jeans. When he caught her from behind, Charlotte pivoted and slapped his touch away. Don't touch me. Charlotte shrieked. I hate you. She sounded like a brave Amazonian woman, but in actuality she was shaking like a tall tree. My skittish little sister couldn't hold on for so long. Greyson smirked. I totally see the resemblance. I told you. Lee shook his head. Now we have two of them. What are these two mumbling about? Aren't you supposed to be getting treated or something? I looked at the blood crusting on Greyson's clothes. I'll be fine, he said stubbornly. Your brother is a werewolf? Again Bennett asked. Gee, I don't know, I said sarcastically. Bennett growled. Don't be sassy with me, young lady. He sounded like he was my father, but my dad never yelled at me. I was too young and innocent when Ed died, so I never experienced his scolding. Dad, stop it. I feel like you're talking to me. It's so weird. Lexi covered her ears. I told you already. We had no clue Trent is a werewolf. I told Bennett again. He wouldn't accept it. I'm positive your grandmother doesn't have a recessive gene that her father wasn't a werewolf. It could be possible that her mother... He dazed off, lost in his thoughts. Is this party over? Theo blurted. The window's busted and Alpha Grey is banged up, but I'm sure we can still party. Is partying the only thing in your mind? I told you one, too many times. It's Alpha Greyson, not Grey. Greyson glared at his friend. Dude, it's my off day. You haven't let me had a day of sense 2 weeks from now. I'm burned out and I'd like to have fun tonight. Leo asked for a glass and someone handed it to him. Bottoms up, he chugged the glass. Don't drink too much. I need you sober early tomorrow morning. Greyson rolled his eyes. A captain, Leo mock saluted. I already think he's drunk. Robert blew a tired breath and looked hopelessly as his eldest son asked for another glass. From the corner of my eye, I saw Vincent trying to voice reason with Charlotte. It was an accident. I told you before I wasn't trying to hurt you. It just happened. He furiously scratched his head. I was trying to stay away from you, but you followed me into the woods and my wolf took over. I wasn't in control when I bit you, so you're saying it's my fault. Vincent should learn right now. You could never tell Charlotte she's wrong, or she will give you hell. Theo crossed his arms and sighed. I'm so glad I don't have my mate yet. Mark my words, Leonardo. Your turn will come. Greyson punched him on the shoulder. Laura clapped her hands. We can't let this party go to waste. To my Identity丨Mystery, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. Celeste, you two can retire for the night. I don't think Greyson should be walking around. Mon, I'm fine. Laura shook her head. You're going to get that treated. Then you are heading to bed. Both of you. She looked at me. Take care of him. I didn't argue. To my Identity丨heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. But Celeste, Charlotte pleaded with her eyes. She wanted to talk to me alone. I am very familiar with the look she was giving me. I'll talk to you after I see to Greyson's wound. Her lips pressed together, holding back a protest. There were too many unfamiliar people around her, and after what happened earlier, I don't think she wanted to get anyone angry. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Can I come with you? Behind her, Vincent mocked in defeat. He wasn't taking her cold shoulder attitude very well. On instinct, I asked Greyson for permission. Can she? I don't see why not. We excused ourselves from the party and everyone continued their festivities. Bennett and Laura entertained the crowd by introducing the pack to the two new wolves. Vincent skipped introductions and busied himself with Leo's shenanigans. I saw him frowning as Charlotte followed Greyson and me upstairs. I felt sorry for him. Maybe later I can talk to Charlotte to lighten up a bit. This place is a lot bigger than Grant's. Charlotte ordered everything her eyes landed on. This place is like a castle fit for a king. That's what I thought the first time I came here. Because of Greyson's wounds, we had to walk slowly at his pace. He refused any help from father or anyone who offered their assistance. Celeste can help me. He must be overestimating my strength. I can't carry all his weight alone. He didn't even ask for Charlotte to help, and my sister was not keen on helping him either. I don't know what's going on in your head, seeing your sister after so long. You kidnap her, because I can't imagine Celeste willingly leave the night with a stranger. Charlotte interjected. I stole her. It's an unlawful act, but I her. You can't take a person against her will. This conversation sounds too familiar. Greyson's skin warmed more, and sweat tricked down his forehead. My dress was no longer the pure white I so admired earlier today. Bloodstains smeared the front. Wearing the dress made it difficult to maneuver with Greyson leaning on my side. Charlotte, can you please open that door? I pointed to Greyson's bedroom. She did as told, but glared when she saw the contents of the room and realized whose room it had to belong to. Why are you taking care of him? Charlotte spat, then moved close to my ear as possible to whisper. This is our chance, Celeste. While he is helpless, we can take Trent and leave. If you only knew how hard it is to walk out of this place without being seen. A growl vibrated through Greyson's throat. I won't allow that. If you want to leave so much, take your brother and go. Celeste is staying here with me. I stood between them so to block each other's view. I didn't want to hear another argument. Even if we tried, though I'm not saying we should, we would get lost in that stupid maze. Isn't that right, Greyson? Yes, he glared at Charlotte. Lay down. I told him. He rolled on top of his bed and winced when a section of his flesh cut the fabric of the sheet. We should probably call Drive. Odell to bandage you up. He grabbed my hand before I could leave the room. No, you can do it. It's a simple procedure. I can't bandage you up. I'm not a nurse or a doctor. What if I hurt you more? Charlotte remained an awkward bystander. She blended well with the ward and watched us interacting. She was taking in every bit of the conversation and analyzing. You won't hurt me. I trust you. Go to my closet. You will find a first aid kit in there. Frustratingly, I marched into his closet and searched through his things. Dwelling in this house for 2 weeks, I've learned the ins and outs of every nook and cranny. If there were a scavenger hunt, I would win first place. Found it. I took it from one of the shelves and quickly returned to Greyson's side. What do I do? Take my shirt off. I looked between my sister and Greyson. Charlotte's brow curved, waiting for my choice of action. Was I really going to take his shirt off in front of my sister? What's wrong? Greyson obviously didn't understand how awkward this situation was. My face felt flush. Can't we have your dad or Leo help you? I don't need them. You're here. You can do it. Unless you'd rather have your sister do it. Charlotte grimaced. Hell no. I'm not helping you. And I can't even stand seeing the sight of blood. Why do you think I stood all the way over here? Then why did you stay? He sounded annoyed. I wasn't going to leave Celeste here alone with you. A grin played on Greyson's lips. What do you think I'd do to her in my room? If he weren't hurt, I would have smothered him with a pillow again. Why don't you be a good patient and sit quiet? Oh, arrogance rippled from him in tidal waves. Are we role-playing now? It's been a while since we've done that. He peered at Charlotte's direction and lazily traced his hand across my arm. Charlotte gasped. Laurent, what the hell does he think he's doing? Shut up already. You're corrupting my sister with your stick-twisted mind. I ripped open the coat jacket he wore and Greyson growled like a tortured animal. Charlotte didn't even try to hold back her scream. She rushed to my side and pulled me back as if Greyson was a danger hazard. Oh my God, he's going to kill us, she cried. Shit. Celeste, that freaking hurt. Did you have to take it off that fast? Greyson swore under his breath. The wound bled in and I felt really guilty. To my Identity Mystery, thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I took a step forward and Charlotte yanked me back. We have to leave. We have to get out of here. Mom is going to have a heart attack if she wakes up the next day and all her kids are gone, Mom. She's right. Mom is literally going to die if she realizes she lost all her kids. To my Identity Mystery, thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I can't let Mom suffer more than she has already. I'll talk to my dad about it. He said it flatly. I didn't think he meant it seriously. Charlotte, you are allowed to go home. Vincent can escort you back. No, I won't leave without you or Trent. Your brother stays here. Greyson butted in. He is newly shifted and he is not in full control of his wolf. Releasing him puts everyone around him in danger. So you're kidnapping my brother too. Charlotte looked ready to strangle him. Only for 2 weeks, but I can't have him be a wolf without a pack. Once a boy shifts, they are a werewolf forever. If he leaves and never becomes part of a pack, he will be considered a rogue. I don't know how other packs work, but in mine, rogues are killed. You're not going to kill our brother. Greyson touched the back of my hand. I wasn't even thinking it. What are we going to go, Celeste? I can't go home and tell Mom Trent is missing too. Then bring her here. The door opened and Bennett walked in. I would like to speak with her. He had a book in his hand and he opened it where the bookmark was saved. Take a look. The markings on the book was handwritten in elegant script. There was a long list of names and numbers. What is this? I asked him. This is a record book of all the families that live in town. Werewolves and humans are both written on here. This is how we trace lineages. This page marks your family history. Your great-great-grandfather is human and he moved here 2 centuries ago. He bought the land your grandmother owns. He married a human and had a son. Then that son had a daughter with a human as well. Your grandmother. So that leaves your grandfather and your father. The records show your grandmother had 1 child out of wedlock. And your mother left town after high school. I want to get to the bottom of this and find out how the werewolf gene is in your veins. Unless your brother has a different father, his assumption pissed me off. I stopped him before he could finish that last sentence. No offense to you, Alpha, but you need to be considerate of the things you say. Just because you're the boss doesn't mean your words are justifiable. Bennett snorted. You sure have backbone to talk to me that way. Touch. I want your grandmother and your mom here tomorrow morning. I'll have Leo and his team personally escort them. I've already planned a setup to make it look like a vet search part to find your body. What? Charlotte voiced my thoughts exactly. You're going to pretend to kill me off. He can't be serious. I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. The humans in town have to think you died in the police search party is an excuse for your grandmother and mother to be gone half the day without question. He sure has this all planned out. Chapter 19, get your paws of me. Breh. Damn kids these days, they can throw an old woman a lake and think it's funny. Your mother is going to hear about this, Vincent. You weren't making it easy. Boy, you think I'd sit still and let you drown me? Vincent made a slur of explicit words before something hit him and he yelled. To my agent extraordinaire, Lycan Love, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. When I heard Gran's voice scolding from the living room, I dropped the novel I read and dashed out of Greyson's study like the house was in fire. To my agent extraordinaire, Lycan Love, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Sitting by his study table, dropped the stack of papers he was analyzing for Bennett and followed behind me. Celeste, he yelled, but it was too late. I was already at the end of the hall. If Gran is here, does that mean my mom was here too? On my way down the stairs, I almost tripped on Liam sliding down the stairs on his stomach. I was in a hurry, but the little boy sidetracked my attention. Liam, isn't that dangerous? He could get rug burns, or fall and get hurt. His features looked so much like Greyson, especially when he had that stubborn look on his face that we don't tell me what to do. He frowns and doesn't like the way I was reprimanded him. I'm not Liam. I'm Caleb. Enthused by my mistake, I cover my mouth with my palm. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mix you up with your brother, but you shouldn't be sliding down the stairs on your stomach. He rolls his eyes. Nothing will happen. And he positions back on his belly, but two muscular arms lift him up before he could rappel himself down. No, he protests. Liam, it's not good to lie. And Celeste is right. You could fall and hit your head and he would have to take you to drive. Odell. She will stitch your head back up if it's split open. Liam looks horrified. Split open? Yeah. All your brains will gush out and you will be as dumb as a goldfish. Tears brim Liam's eyes as he looks at his idiotic brother, with both hands clutching his head like it's ticking to explode. To my agent extraordinaire, Lycan Love, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I take Liam from him and set the traumatized boy on his feet. Liam wraps his tiny arms around my hip and hides his face behind my back. I pat his head and tell him Greyson was just kidding. Why are you babying him? He lied to you and he didn't listen. I can't believe him. Your little brother is just a kid. Kids are like that. He's an alpha's kid. He needs to learn discipline. He makes me wonder how he was raised. Was Bennett one of those fathers who told their kids that boys shouldn't cry? I wouldn't expect Laura to accept that type of parenting. Scaring him is discipline. It's the only way for him to listen. I groaned to myself and turned around to face Liam. Liam, can you promise me something? Liam shyly peered at me with his chin tilted down. He stared at his brother's intimidating stance and avoided either of our gazes. I looked over my shoulder and wanted to kick Greyson's shin again. This is your fault, I mouthed. Greyson didn't think so. With an eye roll, he crosses his arms over his chest and shakes his head. It's just like him to stop talking after I scold him. He'll get over it eventually. Leave him alone. There was a loud crash, followed by a scream and then Gran's voice. Don't tell me to calm down, or I swear this vase will get it. No, Laura was there and she begged Gran to put the vase down repeatedly. I'm guessing that someone you know, by the look on your face. My grandmother, I admit. He mutters under his breath. We better go. What did you say? Nothing. He said something. Set him down. Liam, if I find you playing on the stairs again, I will tell Dad. Greyson made his way around me and his brother, then headed to the living room area where Anne would be. Liam looked like he was about to shit himself with Greyson's threat. That jerk. I couldn't just leave Liam like this, so very quickly I rubbed his back and said, Promise not to do that again, okay? Your head won't get split open, But if something bad were to happen, you won't feel good and your mommy would be sad. Do you want her to be sad? He shook his head no. I smiled and rubbed the top of his head. You're such a good boy. Emir. Now go find your brother and have fun. But don't get hurt, okay? He smiled and walked down the stairs in search of his brother. Entering the living room, I am greeted with a porcelain vase flying across the room inches from my face. To my agent extraordinaire, Madame Noban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Laura screamed, like a professional baseball player. Greyson dived to catch the vase. On his arms and legs, he slides across the carpet and catches the large vase. Got it. Safe. Gran laughs. Her mouth is wide open. I can see the small gap between her teeth. Her eyes catch me. Oh my gem. You look just like my granddaughter. The likeness is so exact. Are you by chance a long-lost twin? She walks across the room and past Laura, who looks like she wasn't to murder my grandmother. Her fingers are cold and she touches my cheek with her palm as if trying to figure out if I'm real. She squishes my face, puckering my lips like a fish. Gran, I'm Celeste. I grab her wrist and place my other hand into the back of her hand to warm her chilled fingers. Celeste, show MW proof. I don't believe you. Proof? What kind of proof do you want? She ponders for a second. What do I like spread on my bread? That was such a lame question. She blurted the answer a few minutes ago. Jam, what flavor? Strawberry. 1 out of 2. Good enough. Oh my stars. It is you. She opens her arms and hugs me. Her clothes are dampened, her whole body is shivering. Why are you so cold? I hold her closer, hoping to give her some of my warmth. She looked paler than her usual color and she was too pale already. Her brows crease together and her gaze punctures Vincent. I can see him shiver in distaste. That idiot pushed me into a lake. I almost drowned. He should be charged for attempted murder. She pulls my hand, bringing me down to her level and whispers, he'd probably get away with it, with his brother being the big shot in town. God, you don't know how right you are. I should get you a blanket, before you freeze to death. Vincent, get her blanket. Greyson orders. Vincent scrambles to his feet and immediately obeys, but leaves with a grumble. Hello, my name is Greyson. Greyson places one arm around my shoulders and Gran watches him do this as if willing his hand to fall off. He offers Gran his other hand as a friendly greeting. Gran looks at it like it were a disease. Who are you? I've never seen you. All that blabbering woman in my life and I know everyone in town. By blabbering woman, she means Laura grumbling on the floor, picking up vase and placing it to its rightful place. Realizing Gran wasn't planning on exchanging greetings, Greyson retracted his hand and slipped it in his front pocket. That woman is my mother, Laura. You haven't met us before because we live in an isolated area in the woods. Laura. That name sounds familiar. Where have I heard it before? Gran inquisitively takes a glance at Laura, who still has a frown on her face over broken pieces of glass on the floor. I'm sure you've seen her before. As soon as Bennett enters the scene, his presence makes the room feel electrifying. Gran's eyes bulge at the sight of him. Have that mess cleaned up? He tells a man standing next to him. Yes, sir. The man nods and attends to the mess. Bennett kisses his wife on the cheek and whispers something like, count to 10. Deep breaths. We can replace it. Laura scowls. That was a gift. Don't worry about it. Bennett tells her and focuses back to Gran. Diana. That's your name, if I'm correct. Around his arm is a warm woven blanket. Vincent was not standing behind him. They must have ran into each other before coming here. Bennett offers it to her, and before her stubbornness rejected his kind gesture, he unfolds it and wraps it across her back. Gran accepts it with gratitude, but the reluctance on her face was still apparent. How do you know what I don't know you? I swear my old age isn't that bad. Bennett chuckles. I have my sources. Where is this place? Gran asks. After that damn brat tried killing me, he pulled me out of the water, and I opened my eyes to this place. Where the hell is this? She gasps. Am I in heaven? This must be hell because I don't see my lifelong supply of jam. Then she looks at me. I won't expect you to be in this place. Connie, what did you do to end up here? I have an excuse. That you. Greyson smirks. You're a funny woman. Grant smirks back. I appreciate you not calling me old. Brownie points from me, kid. She analyzes the way we are close together. But if you like my granddaughter though, you'll have to work hard before I approve this relationship. I wasn't part of her life for almost 2 decades. That sure as hell doesn't mean I will not look after her. Bennett grins and is clearly amused by my grandmother. For a small woman, she has a lot of bite. Gran, we are not together. I push against Greyson's chest to move away. He doesn't approve of this and pokes me on my side playfully. I yelp, because it's ticklish, and smack across his shoulder backhanded. Stop it. You started it. Gran looks at us with open curiosity. This is not hell. We are not dead. Gran, I was kidnapped here and held hostage. Gran looks at Greyson and back at me. You were taken on the eclipse. Her mouth opens in complete and utter shock. Does that mean? He's the beast. Her reaction was totally what I hadn't expected. It almost looked like she was excited for me. Like a little kid meeting Santa. She grabbed his hand and giggled like a schoolgirl. You think my granddaughter is pretty. You couldn't keep your paws off her. Hey, is it true that you actually turn into a beast? This was easier than anticipated. I thought she'd pull a stunt like what you did. Then it smiled. You're actually okay with him kidnapping me. Mom was right. Gran is bat shit crazy. The way you say it makes it sound like a crime. The people in town think it's a blessing and a sign of good fortune. Don't get me wrong. Honey, I was worried about you. I wasn't sure if you were all right, or if you are alive. But look at you. You look fine and you don't seem to be distressed or anything. She pointedly glowers at Greyson. You are taking care of her, right? I couldn't see the expression on her face, but it must have been really threatening for Greyson to have that paled expression on his face. He gulped. She's treated like a princess. You mean Rapunzel? Minus the long hair. I'm kept inside this house closely watched. I'm afraid they watch me taking a shit in the toilet too. We don't go to that extreme. Bennett muttered. I can't believe I'm here seeing you. You're okay. Your mother has been worried sick. With the mention of Mom, my throat constricted. How is she doing? Tracy's been struggling trying to fall asleep. She misses you and worries about your siblings too. Trent's been acting weird. She says, and Charlotte got injured fairly recently. She doesn't know yet that Trent is a werewolf and Charlotte is a mate to one. Chapter 20. The veins in his arms jutted as he crossed his arms over his chest and settled back into the chair. Who is Celeste's grandfather? Bennett offered Gran a seat, but she chose to sit at the farthest seat from everyone else. Greyson didn't give me much of an option where to sit, because he had me glued to his side with one of his arms resting below my hip. I didn't even bother moving for Huey grumble about how insensitive I was about his wolf's feelings. And I thought I was the woman of this relationship, not that I'm saying we're in a relationship. This overbearing male wanted to show my grandmother that he had a claim on me. Celeste's grandfather is a man I went down and dirty with. Gran took a sip from the cup of tea she held between her hands. My couriers. I don't think I can ever erase what she said from my mind. Diana, please don't tease with me. I'm a very impatient person and I don't like it when people waste my time. Bennett leaned forward, resting his elbows on his thighs and clasping both hands. Don't make me ask again. Who is Celeste's grandfather? Grant set her cup on the table. To tell you the truth, I don't know. You don't know. Bennett sounded pissed. Grant's ability to pull people's buttons is remarkable. There was no doubt in my mind she can make a happy clown turn psychotic. It was a one-night stand. I was young and wild. I went to one crazy party and I got knocked up. Because of my recklessness, my daughter practically grew up without both parents. If you meet my Tracy, you'd see why she hates me so much. She's a bookworm and I'm a failure as a mother. She smiled sadly. I actually sympathize with Gran. Mom can be cynical sometimes, but it's not because she's old-hearted. With everything she's been through, it's hard for her to express her feelings to anyone but her kids. Tracy moved out as soon as she could afford being on her own. I didn't get to see my grandkids grow up because of that. Gran looked at me and sighed. But I have no regrets. My grandchildren are all good kids. We love you to Gran and Mom does too. Regardless of the people watching, she reached her hand across the table to touch mine. I love you to Sweetie. If my recklessness has ever bothered you, or embarrassed you, like your mother. I shook my head. You are amazing, Gran. I wouldn't change you for the world. I hate to break up this touching moment, but we really need to get down to business. Bennett mumbled. His diligence was beginning to get annoying. They contained me in this house like a prisoner, deprived me of privacy, and now they won't even let me have this touching moment with my grandmother. Why are you so eager about learning my family history? What does learning about my grandfather have to do with you? I shot at him. Celeste. He waited until he could control the tone of his voice. I noticed. We're kind of a darker shade than usual. Greyson explained to me once that their wolves intensifies normal human emotion in order to manipulate transformation. In other words, their wolves want out and it takes a lot of control to hold them in. It sounds to me like werewolves PM sing. I have some notions. One being that your grandfather was a rogue that entered our land undetected years ago. If he's still alive, he could still be here in my territory. That does not set well for me. It is a danger to my pack and my family. What kind of gibberish is he talking about? Grant whirled her teabag and set it on her saucer. He sounds crazier than me. She chuckled. And she admits that about herself. Unbelievable. A sneer crossed Bennett's face. Diana, this is my son Greyson. He is a werewolf and very much enamored by your granddaughter. I can see that. Her eyes analyzed the way Greyson held me close to him. Every male in this facility are werewolves. He proceeded to tell her about their family history. Everything that I'd already been told. At first Gran listened open-mouthed in awe. Then she smirked once Bennett finished talking. Show me, she demanded. Strip and show me them doggy paws. Vincent, who had been listening the whole time, standing in the back corner of the room and leaning against the wall, looked applaud. Bennett did too, but he quickly masked it and cleared his throat as if covering a choke. Gran. That's totally inappropriate. Next to me Greyson vibrated in silent laughter. I elbowed to point out that it wasn't funny. I'd never seen a woman talk to my dad like that. Not even my mom. If you want proof, then another time, using other means. Werewolves are still human. We have morals. No one must strip for your enjoyment. Bennett put it mildly. Grant smirked. I'm just pulling your strings. Big dog, or how do you call yourself? To my agent extraordinaire, Lycan Love, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Bennett said, between clenched teeth, right. Again, she was trying to pull on the man's last nerve. Gran, please don't aggravate Alpha Bennett. Another thing he forgot to mention is that Trent is a werewolf too. She paused, staring me emotional as, Trent? You mean your brother Trent? The kid that's like the younger male version of your mother now. It was still hard for me to believe too. I nod. He transformed for the first time last night. It was a shock to all of us. I didn't expect it at all. They want to figure out why he turned into a werewolf. That's why they want to know if the man you had intimate relations with was a werewolf. I blushed saying it. It's not every day you ask your grandmother about her life in the bedroom. With a raise of a hand, Bennett interjected. But wait. My second notion is that man wasn't a werewolf. From examining the story of Diana's first encounter with him, he can't be a werewolf. Bennett muttered. Werewolves can only have kids with their mates. Either that man was her mate and died shortly after the consummation, or he was completely human. There is a higher probability for the latter. So you're saying Celeste's grandfather is most likely human? Greyson clarifies his father's confusing notions. Bennett nodded. Probably. It's either yes or no. There's no room for a probably. Everything is so confusing. In my head, I'm imagining the game Guess Who. And it isn't ending the way it should because the person we are trying to identify keeps changing outfits. If it helps, the man I slept with was kind of hairy. Then don't even finish that sentence. I warned her. No, please continue. Greyson snickered and I glared at him. Bennett turned his head as if hearing something and got up. Where are you going? Greyson took my hand in his and got up as well. Your mother is here. So is your sister. They are walking towards the house. How do you know? As soon as I get up from the sofa, Bennett disappears from the room, already on his way to welcome them. Or that's what I think he's going to do. Greyson taps at the corner of his ear. We can hear her coming. Werewolf fears, remember. Animalistic sensory skills. I almost forgot. With a clunk, Gran lifts her feet up onto the table and melts back into her chair, making herself comfortable. Her action reminds me so much of how Trent puts his feet up on the card ashboard. This isn't hot anymore. Where can I find the microwave? My eyes widen. Don't let her anywhere near our kitchen. I warn Greyson. The house would burn down if no one watched her. Greyson tilts his chin to face her. Stay here, Diana. Please call me Gran. My grandkids call me by that. She sends him a warm smile. There is a spark of wonder in her eyes. Something tells me that she has a slight fascination about the beast of her legend and isn't aghast about what he is. Vincent, keep her company. Make sure she gets what she wants. Greyson told him. She will want to kill me. Vincent chooses to stay halfway across the room from her. Gran heard him. I'm plotting as we speak. With that, Vincent winces and sends Greyson and me a plea. You'll be fine. What can she do? Vincent looks horrified and Gran smiles innocently at Greyson like a devil in disguise. Gran, behave. She rolls her eyes. Are you my other mother now? Gran, please. All right, honey. Because you said please. Thank you. The female figure was not my mother. It was Charlotte standing next to Bennett. Where's Mom? I asked her. She was wearing a graphic tee, shirt from one of the concerts she attended with her friends last spring and a pair of shorts. A backpack was strapped on her back and a half-empty refillable bottle was tied to one side. On her head was a pair of sunglasses and her long hair was neatly tied up to a ponytail. She looked like she was ready for a 5-mile hike. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. She pointed at the direction of Leo's large figure. Underneath him was my mother passed out Mom. I yelled, running after her. As soon as I got to Leo, I pushed him aside like it was no big deal. What the hell did you do to her? And what is that smell? It smelled revolting that my eyes started to water. Leo groaned as he rolled himself to his hands and knees. Then on his feet. Your mother is not much of a Girl Scout. What happened? Bennett. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Charlotte and 3 new audience members, Laura, Robert and Debbie, arrived on the scene. Oh dear, we're going to need 3 hydrogen peroxide, baking soda and liquid soap pronto. That nasty skunk smell is hard to remove, Laura said, muffled by her palm over her mouth and nose. Charlotte plugged her nose between her fingers. Leo tricked Mom to join him and his parents to go on a search party mission looking for you. I told her Trent had already headed out into the forest as soon as he got the phone call from Leo. Mom and I meet them in the woods and some hectic stuff happened. Robert shook his head. Your mother wouldn't listen to our directions. She went across a shrub of poison ivy, almost stepped on a snake and aggravated a skunk. Mom's never been the outdoorsy type, Charlotte defended. She fainted after she took a whiff of the stench, Debbie said. I think the skunk incident was in our favor. We were able to swim her down under the water and she woke up struggling, but hit her head on stone and fainted again. Oh my goodness, we should make sure she's all right. Laura read my mind. Enthusiasm, Mom, I bent down and hugged her despite the smell. I was so happy to see her again. She looked like she has lost a lot of weight in the past few days. It was probably because of all the stress. Mom, wake up. I patted her cheek. Get drive. Odell. Greyson ordered someone. I don't know who and it didn't matter as long as my mom will get treatment. Where's Gran? Charlotte asked. Leo told me that she was already here, inside with Vincent. At the mention of her scorned, not really, lover, Charlotte's lips flinched. Oh, was all she said. We brought my mom to one of the guest bedrooms and laid her on the bed. Grant saw us and followed us at her own pace. Vincent followed behind her, keeping a far distance from her. Charlotte caught his attention as soon as the two were in the same breathing room. My stubborn sister remained to ignore his presence and Vincent respected that. He didn't attempt to talk to her, although it looked like he was dying inside. I'm going to go and burn these clothes now, Leo said, already peeling off his shirt. Greyson closed the door after him, while Leo was just about to peel his pants off. Remind me to talk to him about walking around the house in boxers. He tells his dad. It's not like you don't do it too. That was before. He took a glance my way. Charlotte. Mom's voice silenced the room of people. Everyone held their breath and watched as Mom opened her eyes and squinted at the ceiling. My head. She grasped her forehead and groaned. She hissed when she touched the bruise forming. You called. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Drive. Odell entered and walked straight to Mom's bedside. She eyed Bennett, waiting for his explanation of the current situation. What's your prognosis? Mom turned her head to identify the people talking. Her eyes connected with mine. What the hell? I'm hallucinating. All eyes turned to me. None. She gasped and tears dribbled down the corners of her eyes. Now I'm hearing things. Sounds to me like she has some mental illness. Gran told the doctor. You should prescribe her anti-depressants before we lose her drive. Odell sneered disapprovingly at Gran. You're not certified to give out prescriptions, ma'am. Gran frowned. Who you calling, ma'am? You look as old as I am, you old hag. Mom covered her face with both hands. Mom, will you shut up? You're making my head hurt more. Then why don't you roll off that bed and ask this shame a lady to give you some pain meds? Do you have a history of substance abuse? Dice Gran. Fangs protruded, but they weren't from any of the werewolves in the room. My grandmother pounced on the pool doctor and it took for grown men to detach her from drive. Odell. That woman needs to be placed in a cage, Laura muttered under her breath. I heard that twinkle toes. Out, send her outside, Bennett ordered. Robert and Vincent grabbed her each under her arms and dragged her out of the room, closing the door behind them. Charlotte, Mom called out. What's that awful smell? She was still unaware of where she was. I walked up to her and grasped her wrist, removing her hand away from her face. When she saw that it wasn't Charlotte, her eyes flooded with tears. Celeste, is that really you? She touched my cheek and warmed her hand. Am I dreaming? Are you real? I nodded and grasped her hand with both my own. And we're together again, I whimpered. Her voice became hoarse. But how? She pulled me closer so that we could hug. You were brought here, Bennett said, again interrupting yet another moment between me and my family. Mom looked over my shoulder and the overwhelming group of people in the room. Debbie, who are these people? Debbie said awkwardly. She looked at Bennett and Laura, hoping for them to do the honors and explain to my mom the chaos of what she was about to hear. My name is Greyson. It's nice to meet you. Greyson didn't hesitate to introduce himself. He wasn't shy about wrapping his arm around my waist and rested his head on top of my knee there. Mom's face hardened at every action Greyson made. Celeste, who is this? I just intro. Shut up. I am talking to my daughter. Greyson stiff and next to me. I thought it would be a wise idea to detach myself from him. He didn't protest when I did. Taking a step back to hide from my mother's wrath, Greyson paled at the rejection. Enthusiasm, Mom, remember that legend that Gran told us about. Not you too. My mother has brainwashed you. That's it. We're leaving this instant. And where the hell have you been all this time? She shouted. You look fine. Did you deliberately try to scare me? And so, my God. Celeste. I would never have expected this outlandish behavior from you. Did you meet up with that boy somewhere? Did he persuade you to leave with him? That's something your grandmother would do. Despite her headache, she swung out of bed and abruptly got up. It was clearly a bad idea, because she swayed as soon as she stood up. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Being the closest, caught her first and carried her back to the bed. Mom heaved as if she was about to vomit and clasped her mouth to keep the bile from coming out. Don't touch me. Mom struggled in his arms. You better not have done anything to my daughter. Greyson carefully placed her on the bed, but she pulled her legs together like a frightened child. Mom, relax, I said soothingly. We can go once we've taken care of your headache. Greyson looked at me as if I were mad. I knew he was about to tell me that I wasn't allowed to leave. I'm just trying to calm her down. I don't mean it. I rest my hand on his shoulder to assure him. We're not staying. I'm not staying in this town for another minute, Mom declares. She attempts to get up again, but this time both my sister and I stop her. Charlotte holds her breath. Mom, you stink like really bad. The smell finally returns to her senses, and Mom recoils from us both. I smell like garbage. She gags. I can help you with that as soon as we get your head checked out. I heard you had a real nasty hit. Laura smiles. You look familiar. Have we met before? Mom tilts her head to the side and winces when her head aches that direction. Laura awkwardly giggles. Maybe, long time ago. Everyone except Debbie looks slightly shocked. Don't you remember Tracy? Laura was a freshman when we graduated high school together. We were in the same volleyball team together. That surprises all of us. Laura never mentioned knowing my mother. Laura, oh my God, I remember now. Mom looks at her in happy astonishment. How's it been? Laura stands right next to me, cozily placing her arm over my shoulders in a friendly gesture. Mom notices this. How did you two become acquainted? I hear Laura take a deep, nervous gulp. Greyson is my son. He's your son, Mom repeats. The amount of control she plays in not blowing up on Laura's face was spotless. I did the math in my head. Laura was taken 25 years ago when Mom had already left Paradise Valley. Mom had no idea that Laura's face was pictured on the missing persons bulletin like mine probably was 25 years ago. Laura chuckles dryly. Oh, I would like you to meet my husband. She quickly averts the topic of Greyson. Bennett walks over and stands on my other side. He nods his head in a short form of hello. It's nice to meet you, Tracy. My name is Bennett. Your daughter has told us a lot about you. This certainly makes things more awkward. It's like a scene from Meet the Parents. That's odd, because Celeste hasn't said a word about knowing any of you. Well, that's because I didn't know then before I got kidnapped. Can any of you help me get to my mother's house? My kids and I need to start packing. Gran looked alarmed. But Tracy, Nobert's mother, you are clearly fine. I don't think you need me and the kids to watch over you anymore, and you have a full house of people watching over you already. Mom takes hold of the bed rail, trying to find some balance. Let's go, girls. She takes my hand. Greyson moves between us, glowers at my mother. I'm afraid I can't let you do that. Move aside, young man. Her eyes press together, trying to withstand the pain in her head. I advise that you let me check your head, miss. Drive. Adele cautions. I'm fine. Don't be unreasonable. I scold her. For the first time since ever. Mom looks at me coldly. I'm being unreasonable. You scared me half to death running away from home to be with this delinquent. My son is not a delinquent. Laura bursts. I can't stand this screaming. Mom clutches her head. Let me see to you. Dive. Odell begs. I think you might have a concussion. Worry bites me and I look at Greyson for support. His fists clench together and his jaw is tense. Laura takes another harsh remark from my mom and Greyson snaps into action. Sit down and do as the good doctor tell you. He seethes and Mom is stunned silent. But it doesn't last long. Can't you see your daughters are worried about your well-being? Look at you. I've never seen someone so worn out as you. The truth hurt. Mom did look like she had crawled out of the apocalypse. Her clothes were drenched. She had dirt on her jeans and she smelt like skunk. Her complexion wasn't faring better either. She looked tired and her skin was pale, even more so than Gran. Gunny, why don't you let us care for you first and then we can fight about this later? Debbie bustled. Yeah, Mom. Charlotte whispered. She looked slightly shaken, watching our mother the past few minutes explode into an angry volcano. Mom's eyes softened at my sister's plea. But as soon as I'm checked out, we are leaving. She looks at me disappointed. When we get home, we should have a word. I nodded. Drive. Odell was finally able to examine Mom's condition. She informed us that Mom had hit her head pretty hard and had a small hairline fracture on her skull. The doctor wanted her to be monitored overnight to make sure she's going to be okay. You're not leaving, Greyson said when we were alone. Clearly you got that fact down to a T. I muttered. He pulled me against his side and nuzzled his head into my shoulder. When your mom feels better and telling her we are going to get married. Wow, hold on there, buddy. I still haven't consented. You have me forced to stay by your side, remember? Says the girl lying next to me in bed every night. Much to my annoyance, he was right. I've grown to get used to him sleeping next to me. He hasn't touched me inappropriately, but on some occasions I would move into his side of the bed out of habit. I'm a clingy sleeper. Shut up. Don't kid yourself. You're starting to open up to me. In your dreams. And what good dreams they are. He turns around and walks away, heading to his office. Don't let the story end. Subscribe to continue our Wolfpack legend.